Good evening. Um, we had a little bit of wintry weather. You may have noticed today here in northern New England, as well as, of course, southern New England. Here in Yarmouth, Maine, just north of Portland, we picked up about an inch and a half of snow. So that was nice for those of us who are winter weather enthusiasts. Now, since that storm is long gone, I'd like to turn our attention to this upcoming weekend because, as you can see here, one of the most reliable models has a nice nor'easter right off the coast, and that's located right there, as you can see. Now, the basic setup is that we're going to have a low pressure down here, a low pressure down here on Saturday. It's going to basically go like that. I expect it to go a little bit farther west than this particular model has it. And then a new low will form right here and go like that. I expect the low to be maybe a tad bit east of where this model, the GFS, has it. Now, the other headlines that we'll be talking about this week are the clear, cold conditions that will overspread the region this week, and a renewed blast of cold air behind this coastal low into next week. So let's take a little bit of a closer look into the coastal low. We'll do that over here on the GFS ensembles. Let's get a nice, good look. Here's 120 hours out. So it's going to be 7 a.m. Sunday morning. It's a great time to look at exactly what's going to be going on here in New England. Now, these are the GFS ensembles. They're basically like variations of the GFS model. So each one's slightly different. You can see the slightly different scenarios. Now, one barely has a storm at all. And as I've mentioned continually, that is a possibility. Here's another one that does not have a drop of precipitation over the region at this time. So that is still very much on the table, given that it's 5 days out. And as a forecaster, you always want to lean with the more conservative solution until there's reason to believe otherwise. And right now, I think there is pretty good reason to believe otherwise. Model consistency is very high. And the overall pattern, let me just load that up real quick, is pretty good, favorable for a setup like this. So I expect that it's pretty likely. Just take a look at the NAO this upcoming week. This basically tells you what the pattern is going to be like. So negative is cold and wet, and positive is warm and dry. So, just to demonstrate that a little bit, we'll head back. And this is Thanksgiving week. You remember we had that cold snap and a little bit of light snow. And then in September, remember we had that long stretch of hot, dry weather. And that's when the NAO is positive. So enough talking about stuff that happened months ago. The area that we're really interested in is right about here. And that's going to be this weekend when that coastal storm is forecast to hit. And as you can see, all the ensemble models have it negative. Barely, but negative for that time period. Now let's look at the other one that we have. So the Arctic Oscillation, same properties. Here's about the same time. Same time frame right here. Same thing, cold, snowy. There's Thanksgiving week. And warm, dry. Cold, snowy, warm, dry. So, same analogs there. And as you can see, it's beginning to build back positive, but in a very minimal amount. So, it's good weather, good indications in terms of that. So let's take another look back over here at the GFS, and I'll tell you why, if this were to happen, why I think it would be mostly snow. Let's back up the pattern a few days. And in fact, I think this will probably be better if we do it with the upper wind plot. So let's back it up. Alright, here's Friday, 7 p.m. of this week. So I'll show you this right here. It's the disturbance that could spawn at that coastal low. You see it down here on the surface map as a very weak area of low pressure. But a little hiccup in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Now, let's go forward a little bit into when it looks like this low will develop. This isn't quite accurate. This is going to be Saturday night. So yeah, the timestamp's about right. And you can see there is, what we want to look for is right here. This is a ridge of high pressure in the upper levels of the atmosphere that acts to keep all this Canadian cold air locked in place. So, with the current track of the storm that we predict to hit, it's going to go right about there. Now, normally, this would be a track favored for rain. However, in this particular case, since we have this ridge of high pressure at the surface, up here in the upper levels, it's at a slightly different orientation, and the mid to lower levels, as well as the slightly lower levels, it's going to act to keep that Canadian cold air locked in place. So, confidence right now is high, pretty high, that if this were to play out, if this coastal storm were to develop, then it would bring us mostly snow. Let's forward on. This is going to be 4 p.m. on Sunday. And here we have our nice coastal low right over here. We have heavy bands of precipitation wrapping mostly into Maine at this time. We have a nice jet streak, so an area of particularly fast winds high above our heads. And there it is. It's going to be centered right in there. And of course, it's a little bit displaced so it's not perfect alignment of upper level winds. In fact, the main disturbance is back here in the mid levels of the atmosphere, but that's of lesser importance at the moment. You can see what remains of our blocking high pressure ridge right up there, right up there, right up there, and right up there. So it's the fact that it's still there, it's just placed a tad, but you still have that nice cold Canadian air, and that should act to keep things mostly snow. And that is shown by the fact that this dashed red line Let's just trace it out for you right there. That line is the line between rain and snow. And as you can see, areas like southern New England, Cape Cod are going to get rain mostly. But most of the state of Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont are going to get mostly snow. So that'll do it for tonight. I'll be back with another update in the morning, along with a written update for tomorrow's weather exclusively. And for now, enjoy the snow that's on the ground. I know I'll be out skiing tomorrow afternoon, and so that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's that for the weather this week, and have a great night, everyone.